In your presentation, you address something that goes well beyond technology. Technology for sensing, technology for computing, for communicating, which was referred to as meaning. What is it about that computer scientists also talk about meaning and further cognitive capabilities?
I think for me, in the talk, what I was trying to do was to explain that for traditional context systems, we just simply get data and we try and interpret that data, but it's pretty simple interpretation. It's kind of some sensor data saying you are here, and then I decide, okay, I'll give you a particular bit of information. Where it becomes interesting is when you try and fuse these various bits of context data together to try and, in a sense, work out what it is you're doing, what's the meaning of the interpretation of that context data. So a good example might be if you're walking around a town, okay, we can trivially work out your location, but actually working out why you're walking around town and what you're doing and what you might be interested in, that's much harder. So I think that's the challenge for me. This notion of meaning is about trying to understand sensor data and apply some higher level interpretation on it that goes beyond just simple context and sensor fusion into something where you actually can start to think more deeply and at a higher level about what exactly it is the person is trying to do.
Doesn't this raise a lot of complexity issues? Engineering has created technical sensors, and there is a plethora of sensors out there. They have specific purposes. They are tiny, they are small, they are integrated into everything. They sense for light, for air, for noise, they sense for acceleration. Even mobile phones are doing that already. They collect data, masses of data. Now, and presumably forever, they are creating huge oceans of data. How will we be able to extract meaning out of these endless repositories of data?
Well, that's certainly a challenge. I mean, I think historically the pervasive computing community has been, somewhat guilty of picking the wrong sensor for the job. So typically, we find something that's relatively simple to sense, and then use completely the wrong sensor and write a big paper about how you can use the wrong sensor to work out. The challenge is, I think, if you take something like what we're doing now, having an interview, you can't really imagine an interview sensor, right? I mean, what would that look like exactly?
A set of sensors.
It will be a set of sensors. It's immediately going to be a set of sensors that are already going to be doing other things. So somehow you're detecting that there's lights and a camera around, and you can imagine sensors that do that, that we're sitting down, that we're talking to each other, and that over a period of time work out that it's an interview. Because again, that temporal element is, I think, very important. It's not an instant. If you almost no matter how much you instrumented this scene, if you just took a snapshot, you wouldn't really know it was an interview. It could be you and I sitting and having a chat, and somebody else just taking some pictures.
So would systems, this is what you're saying, would systems ever be able to classify our situation without any human support as being an interview, or will it ever need hints by humans to be accurate enough in classifying our situation as an interview?
I think there will always be elements of uncertainty and elements of fuzziness, as there will with their own definitions. I mean, is this an interview? It's an interview because you said neither. Okay? No. Can we do an interview?
We defined it to be an interview.
That's right. But if you said, can we have a chat and do you mind if I film it? It would clearly be the same thing. The sensor readings would be all the same. But would it be an interview? At what point does it transition from an interview to from a chat to an interview? In the same way that today, when we were doing the talks in the session, at what point does it stop being a talk? Does it become a panel? Does it become a discussion? These are all relatively fuzzy terms. So I think for us it would be quite hard to say to a system, it will take a data stream, segment it, so interview starts here, interview ends here. That I think is very hard. Having a system which says, there are two people, sitting down, having a conversation, there's a sort of, relatively structured exchange of ideas, and there are cameras and lights around. And in the past, I've been told that sometimes called an interview and sometimes called a chat. That sounds more plausible.
How do humans perceive computers, and how will that perception be in the future? We have been talking about the disappearing computer. We have also an understanding, meanwhile, that it does not need to materialize as technology. To what extent will that go, and will we have to have this mental distinction of what is the digital world and what is the physical world? The digital one being built and operated by computers, the physical ones where humans articulate themselves or act within. Is this a separation that we still need to keep, or is it obsolete?
Well, two questions wrapped up in there, actually. I think the distinction is obsolete for me. I think that distinction is just going away. What you do in the physical world can get relayed out in the virtual. What you do in the virtual world impacts on the physical world.
We do not even have to think about it.
I don't think you have to think about it. I think you just accept that there's a virtual world and there's a physical world, and there's all sorts of interesting spaces in between, and they're connected and they're clearly connected. So I think that, to me, that distinction is going away. And in terms of disappearing computers, I sometimes think we put too much on that, in the sense that I'm not sure that the vision is disappearing as in making it visible. I think it's disappearing as in below the threshold at which you have to even give it any thought. Anytime that electricity is around, it's all around us and we know it's here, we can see it, it's just we don't care how it works. We never have to worry about that. And I think that's the transition that at the moment, when you're doing the interaction with the computer, you're still having to think about it. It's still a bit of a task. Less so for some people, but for most of us it's still a cognitive load to think about how to do it. And planning and making sure that we've got a table to put the laptop up and the power supply and everything. And that shift to the situation where it is just a tool, it's just in the same way that we use the hammer or the pen. We don't have to think about it. For me, that's a natural point. And when you stop having to think about it, and also you stop thinking about that boundary between physical and virtual, then it becomes really interesting. Because then you're just living your life, and you've got this kind of seamless integration with the computers just in the background. But they will be there and they'll be visible in that sense.
Thank you very much for your thoughts.
No problem, a pleasure. Thank you.